video, we're going to go from big 4x8 sheet of 2-inch foam to a hot wire cut foam wing core. This is cut out to be a Kelpworks manatee. I hope this video is helpful. DIY and craft project panel. That means awesome flying wings. So, looks like I need to cut about there. This would be useful if I had a longer arm. Perfect. Now we are going to trace this out. I like to use a thin Sharpie. There we go. Now we need to set up our right angle guides. So you need to be able to cut a very straight line with your bow. So these I made out of aluminum stock and wood, and put them on very perfectly. Make sure this will fit through. Perfect. Okay. So we have planned form of the wing traced on the foam. I have set up 90-degree slides for the bow wire to go down. So I'm going to cut this out exactly. I'm using a charger as my power supply for the hot wire, the Tenergy TB6AC 80-watt charger. Select extra function, go to the hot wire foam cutter, select your amperage and your voltage. This will depend on the length and gauge of wire you're using. I use a nichrome wire, and I have found this combination gives it a good temperature for cutting. Use textbooks to weight it down, and use a straight edge to line up the line I traced exactly. When I cut the wing panel out, it will be perfect. This is my hot wire bow. Steel rods. Simple 1x piece of wood, and you'll see it slides right down there. I apply energy to the wire. Heats up. Cuts through. Okay. Do the same thing for the tip. Line it up. Now we're going to do the leading and trailing edges. Widen this up a little little bit so it fits. Now the trailing edge. That is one wing panel. Now we're going to need to use our airfoil templates and the bow to cut it out. These are my airfoil templates. One for the tip, two for the roots, so I can make a blunt section in the middle. I've tried different material, aluminum, wood, and this is phenolic. Phenolic has worked the best to get a glossy, smooth edge for the wire to run down, and it doesn't act as a heat sink. Get my airfoils from airfoiltools.com, I believe it is. So we're going to apply this to the root and the tip side, but you need to know where the center line is on both sides. So I do that with this. You see, I put it here, and it will line right up there. So I'm going to draw a line across the root and the tip section the same depth. I'll do a straight line. Now we go to the tip side. And I like to put, this particular model has washout to try to do a little better low speed characteristics without tip stalling. And so you measure out how many degrees of washout you want. And then you draw your line for that one. So you have a little twist in your wing. Now I use drywall screws to attach my airfoil templates. This is my tip airfoil to the foam. You see, I peer through the little screw holes and line up that line with the line I drew on the template. The line on the wing core and the line on the template are right lined up. Hold it carefully, and then I use these coarse drywall screws to screw it right in. These need to go in straight. If they don't go in straight, I catch the wire as you're cutting. I find 3 or 4 screws on the tip side works pretty well, as long as I don't tighten them too much and rip out the foam. So that is on there now. Make sure the top is on the top. Now we'll do the root side. Again, and lining up the line we put on the foam with the line on our airfoil. Okay. Now the root side is on. I use T-pins to create the entry point where the bow is going to start. That'll make sense once I have the bow set up. So I just put it right on the center line, push it in, and the bow will rest there for the top and the bottom. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let me show you all what I've done. We have the wing core slightly elevated. It's elevated about 3/4 of an inch off the table, could be more. That's just so as the bow travels across the table, it doesn't drag on the work surface. This also helps me kind of orient how I want it, because I want the leading edge to be parallel with the work table. Because on this side, I have my feather cut pull device. I'll have to find the link for where we got the plans and the instructions on how to build that, but this thing works great. Pulls the bow extremely smoothly. Now for cutting, I change the temperature of the wire. I lower the wire because I want it to move a little slower. I don't want it to burn the foam and make all sorts of lines. So when I'm using it as a guillotine to make those straight cuts, I have it set higher at this particular wire length and gauge. I set it at 18 volts and 6 amps. For actually cutting out the wing, I lower the voltage to 14.5 volts. I just discovered that is about the right temperature. I want to make sure nothing is going to catch as this thing moves, so I want the wire nice and slack. Put the wing bed core here. I need my little pull strings, which are here. I have the bow hanging from the ceiling. I want it pretty much going down the center of the wing core, so as it slides, it doesn't hit our templates. And I have these pulleys lined up so the strings pass over them perfectly. Use our pull strings to kind of show us if we've got it lined up right. Once you get it going, and if you're doing a few of these for your buddies all at once, you'll have it lined up and know where to put it on the table. Yeah, so that's gonna go perfectly and not run into anything. So that is good. Now I'll use hooks to lay this down. So I don't want it moving. Now the bow is resting on those T-pins up on the leading edge. I'm going to start the leading edge and pull over. Now, your feather cut device is pretty ingenious. We need the tip side to travel slower than the root side. The way we do that is we have the string attached to different lengths on the drop arm. So this takes a little trial and error, but figure out where you need to attach it. I have mine divided up into 100 different gradations. The tip I need to travel about half the speed, so it comes out that I attached to number 52. And then the root is at 100. I want that to go at full speed. It's traveling the farthest distance, both in terms of the line, and also it's got to go over the hump of the airfoil, which is thicker at that side. So it does change a little bit for the top and the bottom pull. Okay, so we have everything lined up. Our strings are about the same tension. I release the drop arm to apply full pressure. This one's a little looser. I'm going to tighten that up. Now we're about even. And I check and make sure nothing's going to catch. It's not going to hit that thing. Then I apply heat. And I need to give it a little assistance to start moving up the leading edge on both sides. But once it's going, the smoothness of the phenolic lets it just glide perfectly. So you can see the drop arm is dropping as the bow is pulled gracefully across. You see the tip side is moving slower than the root side. That's because we've got our string on the tip traveling a shorter distance as the arm falls. If I've done it correctly, they should exit the trailing edge at almost the exact same time. See, the root side is catching up. Alright. Tip side is almost done. I'm going to kind of catch the wire so it doesn't come shooting off the side. They both exit essentially the exact same time. Done. Bring it away. Turn off the power. Release the tension from the falling drop arm. And we have cut the top of our wing. The wire cools down almost instantly. Alright, so I don't really want to disrupt it right now. We're going to do the bottom and then we'll pull it out. And I flip this over. Just turn this over, so now we're going to do bottom of the wing. And getting this all lined up. Putting the wire bow back up on those T-pins. So I'm ready to go. Want to get it pretty even. Now we need to reattach our strings to the right side since I do the tip. And the root. The root goes to 100. Make sure those are about the same tension. Make sure nothing is going to catch. Plenty of slack in the wire. That's going to travel, not hit that. It's going to travel, not drag on anything. I release tension on the drop arm. Apply heat, current. As the wire heats up, I give it a little assistance to get started going down the template. It's cruising along. The bottom, it's not as steep of an angle to start. I will Move this so you guys can see. There it goes. It's going to travel there. And then you see the tip side is moving slower. So they should exit the trailing edge at the same time. Here's our drop arm. See, this is the tip string. Comes here versus the root string. Goes there. So the root side is traveling farther distance. Almost cut out half of a wing. It's traveling along perfectly. Nice and smooth. Almost the exact same time. That one, the tip got out a little early. Not bad. Perfect. Turn off the electricity so we don't bounce back and melt anything. Release the tension. Several clips. Move this over. Now the moment of truth. To see how clean cut we did. Look at that. That looks pretty good. And so we've got just a little ridge in the front. That's where the width of the T-pin. So we just use extremely fine sandpaper and sand that down. There we go. And remove T-pins. And there you have it. And you've got full washout. You build it right in the wing bed. Keep it nice and straight. See? It's perfect. Yeah.